In the previous episodes, we explored the hidden basements of the unconscious and the mountain peaks of human ambition. But now, the mystery ends. We stand at the entrance of a laboratory where the soul is replaced by the machine. Welcome to episode 7 of our journey through the human mind. This is behaviorism, and the terrifying possibility that your free will is nothing more than a carefully designed illusion. Today, we leave the philosophy behind and enter the lab. Our journey into the algorithm begins not with a human, but with a dog and a bell. Ivan Pavlov was a man of cold, hard facts who happened to stumble upon the blueprint of our nervous system. He noticed that his lab dogs didn't just salivate when they tasted meat. They began to drool the moment they saw the white lab coats of the assistants walking down the hall. Pavlov realized that the brain is not just a processor of information, but a giant machine of associations. He proved that you can take a completely neutral signal, something that means nothing, like a bell or a metronome, and through repetitive pairing, hardwire it into the body's involuntary reflexes. This became known as stimulus-response psychology. The dogs weren't deciding to be hungry. Their biology had been hijacked by a signal. Think about your own life. You are a walking library of these learned triggers. Why does your heart race when you smell a specific perfume that an ex-partner used to wear? Why do you feel a wave of anxiety when you walk into a hospital, even if you aren't sick? You have been conditioned by your environment to feel emotions and physical reactions long before your conscious mind can even analyze the situation. You don't just live in your environment. You are a biological reflection of it. While Pavlov showed how we react to triggers, B.F. Skinner wanted to show how we act to get what we want. He believed that every single action you take, from brushing your teeth to checking your bank account, is the result of a cold, subconscious calculation. What happens to me after I do this? To prove this, he designed the Skinner box. Inside, he placed a rat and a simple lever. But the genius, and the terror, of Skinner's work was how he manipulated that lever. Skinner identified the 4 quadrants of control that run our modern world. Positive reinforcement. You press the lever, you get a sugar pellet. In the human world, this is the paycheck for your work or the good job from your boss. The behavior increases because a reward is added. Negative reinforcement. This is the most misunderstood tool of control. It's not punishment, it's the removal of pain. Imagine a rat on an electrified floor. It presses the lever, and the painful shock stops. In your life, this is the annoying fasten seatbelt chime that stops only when you click the belt. You aren't acting for a prize. You are acting to escape discomfort. Positive punishment. You do something and you get hit with something unpleasant. A speeding ticket or a burning sensation when you touch a hot stove. It adds a negative consequence to kill a behavior. Negative punishment. You do something bad and something you love is taken away. This is the parent taking away a teenager's car keys or a time out for a child. Skinner argued that our entire civilization, schools, offices, and legal systems is just one massive, multi-layered Skinner box designed to keep us pressing the correct levers. Skinner eventually discovered a glitch in the brain that would change history and eventually build the tech industry. He experimented with the timing of the rewards. If a rat got a sugar pellet every single time it pressed the lever, it eventually got full, bored, and stopped pressing. It was satisfied. But when Skinner made the reward unpredictable, giving a pellet after 3 presses, then 10, then 1, then 50, something terrifying happened. The rat didn't stop. It became a junkie. It would ignore its own hygiene, its need for sleep, and even its own offspring just to keep frantically hitting that lever. This is called a variable ratio schedule. This is also the psychological foundation of Las Vegas and the infinite scroll of 2026. A slot machine is just a Skinner box for humans. You don't win every time, but the fact that you might win on the next pull keeps your brain in a state of permanent, high dopamine arousal. When you pull down to refresh your feed, you are the rat. Every 10 boring posts, the algorithm gives you one pellet, a video that makes you laugh, or a comment that makes you feel validated. The tech giants aren't selling you content. They are using Skinner's unpredictable reward system to turn your prefrontal cortex off and your lever-pressing instincts on. If you think your personality, your phobias, or your vibe are just things you were born with, behaviorism has a much darker answer. Before Skinner, John B. Watson conducted the infamous Little Albert experiment, a study that would be banned by every ethics board today. He took a baby who was naturally calm and unafraid of animals. Every time the baby reached out to touch a soft white rat, Watson would sneak up behind him and clang a heavy metal bar with a hammer. The terrifying noise made the baby scream. After only a few repetitions, the baby didn't just fear the loud noise. He began to scream in terror at the sight of the rat alone. But it went further. Albert began to fear anything white and fuzzy, rabbits, dogs, and even a man wearing a white Santa Claus mask. This is called generalization. Watson proved that fear is a manufactured product. We aren't born with our social anxieties or our deepest insecurities. They are programs installed into us by a world that clanged metal bars when we were too young to understand what was happening. To a behaviorist, there is no soul or inner self. There is only a history of conditioning. Skinner's ultimate conclusion was his most radical and controversial. He argued that free will is simply a name we give to the behaviors we don't yet understand. It is a placeholder for ignorance. He famously suggested that if a scientist knew every single reward and punishment you had ever received, from the first time you were smiled at for eating your vegetables to the last time you were scolded for a mistake, they could predict your next move with 100% accuracy. To Skinner, you don't choose to be a doctor. You were simply reinforced for scientific curiosity as a child. You don't choose to be a rebel. Your environment made rebellion the only lever that provided a dopamine pellet. In this view, we are not the pilots of our lives. We are the passengers of our history. This theory implies that human dignity and freedom are comfortable myths. Skinner argued that if we want a better, more peaceful society, we should stop trying to fix people's souls or change their hearts. Instead, we should just design better boxes. If you change the environment, the human machine will follow. Pavlov, Watson, and Skinner stripped away the mystery of the mind and replaced it with the mechanics of the machine. It's a cold view of humanity, but it's an incredibly powerful tool. If we are machines, then we can be fixed. If we are algorithms, then we can be updated. By understanding your triggers and your pellets, you can start to see the invisible wires that the world, and the 2026 digital algorithm, uses to pull your strings. But behaviorism has a terrifying limit. If we are purely products of our environment, then what happens when that environment becomes a living hell? If a scientist can program a human, can a tyrant destroy a soul? In Chapter 8, we meet a psychiatrist who survived the unthinkable. He will prove that between the stimulus and the response, there is a space that no scientist and no dictator can ever touch. Get ready, because we are about to discover the one thing a machine will never have: the power to choose your meaning. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue our 12-part journey through the evolution of the human mind. Because to change your life, you must first understand the machine that creates it.